this is pretty interesting information. She said
Oh,
the
yeah.
idea that a ship's going to come and it's going to lift all of us up and, take us away from this and take us over to the new earth, those types of theories where we're saved. She says that was actually a program that was inserted by the dark to get us off balance, to get us lazy, sitting back, not doing what we're here to do.
That's interesting.
Isn't that very interesting?
That's good information to know.
Yeah. It gives you something to think on.
Hello, everybody. Today, I am interviewing Suzanne Spooner, and today I'm going to be creating a new playlist. So this is going to be on YouTube, and it's going to be called New Earth versus the New World Order, or, just to make it easier, negative beings or old programs, just to make it simple. But you can throw a lot into the New World or Order part of it. In this video, we're going to be talking about some information that's coming through of like the 3 days of darkness, the Great Awakening, what to expect after the Great Awakening, and some of the things that NWO is trying to stop for the New Earth, from happening and why they're trying to stop it. And then after that, we'll discuss whatever comes up, any other conversations that will come up. But if you're listening to this on the podcast, it will be New Earth versus NWO. It won't have an episode number in front of it. It'll have an episode number behind that description. It'll say 1, 2, and 3. And for the playlist, it'll say New Earth, New World versus the New World Order. And that would be a specific playlist. And I'm going to be interviewing Suzanne today, and I'm going to have some other practitioners to get their feedback and their point of view of what's going on nowadays, what to expect, and just not my opinion or anyone else's opinion. And then you could take that information, you can use it to your benefit. So right now I'm going to tell everybody how I met Suzanne. So in 2018, I did the QHHT level 1 session, and Suzanne was my teacher in that class. And for QHHT, are you considered like an admin for the class, or like a teacher, or?
I teach alongside Julia at different times and assisted Dolores when she was alive, which was just amazing. Yeah, and then I'm the director for the QHHT Official Forum of Practitioners, which is our global community of practitioners. So there's a lot going on.
Oh yeah. And so in our class, so she made us go through Dolores Cannon's process of the, past life regression and everything. And Suzanne was so sweet and so nice, and she'll talk you through it. She's like, yeah, go smoother and deeper and everything. And very, very sweet person, very, very sweet. And she also has a YouTube channel where she posts videos with Ron Head. Did I pronounce his name right?
Yeah.
So those videos right there, I took so much notes from it, so many good information from it and everything. And I'll have a link in the description for her YouTube channel for those videos that she posted. I think it's a series, correct?
Yeah, with Ron, we did many, many sessions, and we put almost all of them out on YouTube. So those were fun.
Yeah, amazing stuff. I'll listen to them twice. And then you also post videos from your QHHT sessions. And the last one I believe you did was the Secret Space Program.
Oh, yes.
That was mouth dropping. Wow.
Yeah, that was fun. I didn't think he would ever want to come public with it. So I've actually done several sessions with him over about the last 5 years. So when he contacted me and said he wanted to go public, it was like, wow, okay, let's do this.
Nice. Now that was I felt like I was watching something that I shouldn't have been listening to. Felt like this was top secret information. So,
Well,
so
I think it is for the most part.
oh,
There are some
yeah,
people that don't want that information out.
yeah, I felt like, man, is somebody watch me? Is this real? Amazing session, a lot of great information. So you can go to her YouTube channel. It's easy to find. It's one of her last videos and everything. And then, but if you need help with finding that certain video about it, just leave a comment below and I'll find it for you. All right. So Suzanne, was there anything I left out? I know you do one more thing, but share whatever you would like to share that you do, any contact information that you would like.
Yeah, the other process I do is my own. It's called the Art of Universal Knowing, or talk, and it's just a teachable method of channeling. It's pretty snazzy, works really well.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's what I was doing. That came to me several years before I found out about Dolores. And then Dolores happened, as she does to so many of us. And what I resonated with Dolores so much for was that her process of quantum healing hypnosis technique showed people that they had all their own answers and healing within them. It wasn't Dolores doing any healing or answering their questions. And in the channeling class that I created, it's the same. We all hold all answers within. And it's just, how do you access that? And it's going, both processes are going quite a bit against what we're taught in our society. And we're taught in our society that all information is outside of us. And we have to rely on authority. And we get lost in confusion because we're always in this left analytical mind. When I found out about Dolores, I just, first I was just endeared because she looked like my grandma.
Yes.
And
Yes.
I think everybody can relate to her as their grandma. And but I loved how empowering her process was by allowing people to find their own answers and going through the process themselves. So it wasn't like somebody, a great psychic. There's great psychics out there, but even great psychics, their information is coming through their filter. And, with talk, which is the acronym, the Art of Universal Knowing, or QHHT, the information is coming straight through the individual it's meant for.
All right. So with that being said, we're going to get the ball rolling and get into all this juicy information. So, and we're just going to define a couple of things. So when I say NWO, New World Order, I'm thinking about all the negative beings, negative entities, old programs, cabal, bad politicians, whoever. So they're on that side. And then I'll leave the definition up to Suzanne for anything that's New Earth related. Can you tell us in your words what you're getting back for the New Earth portion?
Sure. A lot of, when I think of that, I'm thinking no fear, letting go of fear, being in a higher vibration, understanding things outside of the tunnel vision of what we've been taught, really expanding our understandings of multidimensional opportunities, and expanding our understanding of imagination, creativity, that part of us that knows everything, which in QHHT we'll call the subconscious or the high self. And I think it's also a wider view of why we have this duality going on so strongly right now with what you're calling the New World Order, and the light workers, and the those that are trying to help raise the frequency and go to this this new energetic level, fifth dimension, some people call it. And I think that's, we're at a really critical juncture right now, and it's important to know where you stand. I think Bashar is the one that gives a great example of, it's two trains going down side by side, and they're both veering off on different tracks, and you've got to know which train you're going to be on.
Right. That's
And
the,
we're kind of, we're at the split
that's what we're
now.
trying to do here today. We'll get on the right train.
Right. Get on track, right?
Perfect, perfect. Now for the new Earth, you mentioned, are you still getting that it's a fifth dimension reality, or is it a fifth dimension type of consciousness?
I think it's both of those.
Both? Okay.
Here's what I have been witnessing myself, and I bet a lot of your listeners do as well. There's sometimes when, from out of the blue, everything just feels really, really good, really light, really nice. I
Mm.
can give you two examples. One just happened a few days ago, and one happened a while ago. I was going down to my office in downtown Des Moines, and I went to stop at this really cool little, well, it's not little, it's a big deli, pick up some food to take back to my office for lunch before I did my session. And I walked in to the deli, and I was like, whoa, what is up with the deli today? Like, man, it feels good in here. And like, and I couldn't fit, I wasn't thinking, oh, this is fifth dimension. I'm just like, wow, it feels really good in here today. And, I went up to the guy making the sandwiches, and his smile was just huge. He's like, how can I help you? And I'm
Oh,
like, oh
nice.
my gosh, I would like this sandwich. And he's like, I would love to make that for you. I'm like, how's your day going? It's just this, just this really nice love
Hmm.
exchange. And, and I'm paying, and the gal's like, oh, thank you so much for coming today. I'm like, you're so welcome, and I'm thinking, man, I should stay in here today and eat, and I'm like, no, I got to get going. And when I left there, I thought, wow, that really felt different than when I've been in the group for. I wonder if that's like the fifth dimension.
Mm.
And so the next day I had another session,
Interesting.
and I thought, I'm going to go back down there to that deli. I'm going to soak up some more of that energy. And I walked in, and it was like, wah, wah, wah. It was like, I got down to where it was, like, dang it, I should have stayed.
It
And
was
then,
like something from a movie.
what's that?
It seemed like it was like in a movie, like
Yeah,
everything
it
was
was.
perfect.
It just, and I think that's where we have to go. We have to go with our feelings of, trusting that. And just this weekend, it was so funny. I was home alone. My husband was out of town, and we've got this new little puppy. And out of nowhere, the puppy just starts barking. And like, there's nothing going on. There's nothing to bark at. And I got up to see what she was barking at, and she's like looking at the door, but there's nobody there. There's nobody there, right? And I'm like, okay, she's seeing something that I can't see, and that's cool. And I went back to the room I was in, and it happened again. And I'm like, oh, geez, Louise, what is she barking at? And I get out, and without even thinking about it, when I walked out to the rest of the house, my first thought was, what just changed? Like, what just changed here? Like, this feels different. And it wasn't, I'm looking around, like my kitchen's still messy. So it wasn't like somebody came in and cleaned my house for me, but it felt lighter and higher. And it was a noticeable shift. And so I think it's things like that where, we're all, if you really kind of pay attention, there's moments where we're getting glimpses of life in that higher frequency, that higher dimension. And, and because maybe we're not really trained to feel that and be aware of it, it's like it's fleeting. It comes and it goes.
Mhm.
But I think we're going to be having those that are in alignment with it are going to be having those experiences more frequently. And then we're also still in 3D. So, it's that shift back and forth. And honestly, for as chaotic as the world is presenting itself right now, which my belief is that it's just a mirror of everything that's going on inside of us. We're pretty chaotic inside trying
Oh,
to go through all of this.
interesting.
I think the more duality that we're facing, um, it gives us a clear knowing that we want to leave that third dimensional fear and all that garbage behind. And so it's hard to say in this time, but this crud we're all going through, it's a gift. And you have to be very careful about where your perception is these days, because I think we're all manifesting and creating our realities easier than we may even be aware of. And so the more we can focus on the positive and the calm and the gratitude and things like that, that will become more of our reality.
Perfect, perfect. Now, with all that being said, everything sounds so beautiful, so good. And one of the interesting questions is that why would the New World Order, the NWO, why would they try to stop that?
Well, because they like the power, I mean, they've had a pretty good gig on, in their description on the planet for a long time. And, but everything I hear is the lights won. We're kind of playing out, the drama here at the
Nice.
end. So it's, they're doing their deal. There's always balance within the universe. And I am really lucky. I have very interesting people in my world that share, interestingly, very similar information with me over the last few days. And it all comes to them in different ways. But they're all kind of saying the same thing, is that it just has to play out a little bit. And that it's most important now that that we're doing what we're here to do. We're doing the purpose. We're not thinking about it and not, as one said, it's like all these great, powerful souls have been placed on the planet at this time for this very important shift. We can all agree to this, I think.
Mhm.
And she says, it's like the great and powerful souls are kind of just like, waiting around for a ship to come so we can get pulled up on it and get taken out, and she's like, no, you have to do, you can't just wait on your fanny, you have to be doing what you're supposed to be doing. And all of us, as light workers, we have lots of different personalities and lots of different roles. And there are some, it's not me, but that are, like the light warriors, and, they'll go battle those bad dudes, and confront them. That's not where I spend my energy the best. But God bless them. That's what they do. And so I think it's just really important that we get down to our purpose at this time and put action behind the purpose and hold very high energy and focus.
Right.
And those dark ones are great teachers. They just are. It's like our crappy experiences on the planet.
Mm.
They teach us things. And
Interesting.
I could name a few names, but I think we all know who's in the news these days that we think are quite diabolical. And
And FYI, if someone's watching this video 2 years from now, this is July or August right now, August of 2021.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, we'll see how things play out here. But for as horrific as they are, and for what they've done to humanity, it's kind of like the lockdowns. Those suck. But they gave people time to go down the rabbit holes and explore their belief systems and what they had been taught that never really probably felt right to them. So as hard as it is to see what we're going through and be living it, my focus is always on the positive, because I am so done with fear. I was over fear a long time ago, and it just is a waste of energy. So if that's what somebody else is into, that's honestly, that's probably their path. Who's to say, what each soul is here to learn. That's if it resonates with them to be really creepy and yucky. Maybe that's the lesson that they were here to learn. And I hope they enjoy being in 3D for a really long time, until they're ready to expand and go other places. But there's we're all very powerful souls. So it's how we use our power.
Perfect, perfect. Now, you mentioned the lockdowns. You think the lockdowns is a way for them to stop what's happening, like the new earth energies that come through?
I don't think it's the lockdowns. I think it's more, I don't know what you can say on here, the things that are going in people's arms.
Okay.
I think that is more again, I'll use the word diabolical. The lockdowns, I think, are more of an emotional, which can be on humanity, but we can use that to learn more and go within more and become stronger. So I don't think they thought that went through so well. I think a lot of people woke up in the last 16 months, and I think a lot more. And if they decide to go through it again, this fall, then get ready. I think a lot more are going to wake up from that, because I think we're, even ones that weren't open to it, they are, they're starting to question things.
Nice. Yeah, because you think about it, that gives them more time to say, man, something's not right. Something's going on. Let me look for this type of information. Let me see. Let me talk to this individual. Let me find out what this individual is saying. And then you got those friends that are out there saying different things on social media. Be like, let me find out more what that person's looking into.
Right.
With that being said, I noticed with the two communities, I'm going to call it the rabbit hole community, and then also you had the light worker community, just like Suzanne and others, where you having very similar terms that come through in sessions. So like in your sessions and a few other sessions, you'll hear the words like dark to light, God, in the end, God wins and everything.
Mm-hmm.
So when I'm noticing that either one, the individual that is, saying these certain things or is a person that's picking them up and then maybe using those words in their sessions, or they are related and they go hand in hand with each other. So, if you had any feedback on that, and then also is that part, they call it the Great Awakening and, the rabbit hole community. With that being said, is that also the same thing with the Great Awakening is what we need to lead us down to the positive 5D Earth?
Well, I think you're right. There's a lot of similarities and crossover between the two. And I've gone down a lot of rabbit holes. So,
All right.
I cross back and forth a lot too. But I think it's this, I think,
I would have never known.
oh gosh, yeah, heck yeah. So I think there's information is given in different ways. It can be the same information with different voices and different ways of saying it, right? So, if it's, the community that you're calling the rabbit hole, it's very similar information that we get in QHHT sessions, but it may be presented a little bit differently for those that aren't, in that mindset of, past lives and other realities and things like that. But I think it's, it's the same message, different messengers.
Probably they are related and just connected somehow.
Yeah, I think so. Just different verbiage. And, it's kind of cool because you reach a lot of people with the same message in different ways.
Right. So with that being said, it was also interesting that I was telling Suzanne earlier before we start this video that I was doing a QHHT session with a client, and then she was bringing up similar questions. And I was kind of like, one of her questions, I was like, oh, well, stay tuned. I'm going to have a series come out with where I'm interviewing different practitioners and light workers and so on. She goes, oh, wow, what are the odds of that happening? So
we said no coincidences, right?
that's right. There's no coincidences. So when she started asking me certain questions, I started smiling. I said, yeah, I feel like Suzanne right now because all the weird connections. Let's see. So the next one would be a lot of people bring this up. So there's this thing that's called the Great Reset.
Mm-hmm.
And some people say good things about it, and some people say bad things about it. And I could kind of see where each one's related to which one, depending on how much information you have on the Great Reset. But is the Great Reset more for the new Earth, or is the Great Reset more set towards the NW, the New World Order?
What if it's both?
That could be true too.
I think it's your perspective. I think it's what you buy into. And I think that's, when we're talking about that split between the two worlds, I think that's where we're at. There's just some that really are going to experience, some really yucky, dark things coming up. And there's some that just aren't, their heads can't even wrap around that. They're more
I
in this
know.
higher place, right? It's just this, that's, I think one of the cool things, one of the great skills that we learn as QHHT practitioners, when we're giving sessions, we become observers to everything that's going on with our client and the lifetimes or the experiences that they're having or the information that's coming in through this part of them that knows everything. And I think that's the skill that we can take at this time to all that's around us. If you're watching the news or you're aware of how the dark is so overtly telling us what they are going to do. I mean, they're not even hiding it anymore. It's just,
This is true.
oh my gosh, it's just, it's so
All in your
funny.
face now.
It is all in our face. And so I think even with that, when I see that being thrown at me, I'm just like, okay, I'm not going to get tied into fear. I'm not going to go into a panic over this. I am an eternal being. Nothing can harm me, truly. And I'm just to take it from that perception. So, and others are into the fear of it, and maybe that's what their soul needs to learn this time around. I mean, it's, as Dolores Cannon would say, this is to have a physical body on the earth at this time is like the golden ticket. And it doesn't look like it's the fun ride. It's a pretty scary ride at the moment. And I think it's going to get a little bit weirder. But this is where we really have got to cement into what we're here to do and what we're here to be, and be in that frame of mind.
Perfect. Yes, you're absolutely right. And you mentioned Dolores Cannon, and you also mentioned, they don't even hide what they're trying to do from us. And it reminds me of when Dolores Cannon was talking about how it'll be in the future, it's going to be very hard for them to lie to us, and it'll be harder to keep secrets. And I'm like, I want to know if that has something to do with it,
Oh yeah,
With social media.
we're witnessing it, right? When the news is saying, well, this is, we're looking at the possibility of, lockdowns, mass mandates. We're looking at that. They're telling you this is what's happening. So, but we're the ones that have to decide, do we stand up to this or do we not?
Yeah.
And that's been a really interesting thing. I feel, I look at my friends in different parts of the world, and some are really pushing back and some are really laying down. And I mean my friends society, not my friends in person. And it's like, wow, that's so interesting to see. We are living in the most amazing time. That's, I'm going to say amazing, because
Right. Yes.
that's a better perspective.
It seems like every few months it gets more and more interesting.
More amazing, right?
Yes. Yes. So the next thing I wanted to ask you would be about, you hear this in both communities as well. Some say 3 days of darkness, and some will say 10 days of darkness, and so on. Have you gotten any information on that?
That's a really good question. It does come up in sessions periodically. And overall, what I would say the answers is it's going to be a unique experience to each person. And, every once in a while they'll say, everybody's going to see this happen, or they're going to feel the wave of light coming in. And, from everything that I've gathered from my sessions, from the people I know, I leave it open. I know that I'm working on myself to bring my own vibration and frequency up, and that's the best that I can do, and keep my head in a centered, positive space. So I think the 3 days of darkness, 10 days of darkness theories, I don't know, to me that feels a little fear motivated. And this client dear friend of mine that I was speaking with, who's incredibly intuitive, yesterday. We were speaking for a long time, and she's getting a lot of information coming in, and she's the one that said, we've got to start doing and stop waiting for it being saved. And, you know, she said okay, this is pretty interesting information. She said,
Oh, yeah.
the idea that a ship's going to come and it's going to lift all of us up and, you know, take us away from this and take us over to the new earth, you know, those types of theories where we're saved. She says that was actually a program that was inserted by the dark to get us off balance, to get us lazy, sitting back, not doing what we're here to do.
That's interesting.
Isn't that very interesting?
That's good information to know.
Yeah. It gives you something to think on.
Wow. So they the dark put out a negative type of program, or I guess a vision for that. So light workers will think that the ships will come and just take them to their home.
They don't have to do anything. Just, you know, just be driving, and then you're going to see the ship, and then you're going to be beamed up, and, you know, and you're out of here. You know, it does. I mean, it's a nice story, you know, and gosh, if that happens, man, I'll be, you know, like, see ya. But when you look at that, then you stop doing your work. You know, it doesn't matter anymore if you don't have to do anything. And what she was saying was, when we do nothing, or when we accept this fear soup that they're serving regularly to us, that feeds them. And we've got to stop feeding them. We've got to turn off the news. We've got to stop watching the videos that make us sick to our stomach. You know, I mean, there's something to be aware of what's going on. That's not bad. But when it just makes you sick to your stomach and you can't focus on other things that are in a higher vibration, then you're supplying what they need. And they've already lost, but you know, it's like leaving with a good fight. They're not going to just go, okay, you guys win, you know.
Go on, guys. Yeah.
Good job, you guys. You know, it was a good fight.
See you later on.
Yeah. So I think it now is the time that you really have got to get off your laurels and figure out, ask yourself in a quiet space, what am I here to do? What do I agree with? What can I cast aside because it doesn't feel right, and do it.
Perfect. Now, you brought up a great point that I never heard about. But it makes sense, that program that they were putting out there. Is there anything else that they're trying to do, or is there anything else that they do in the background that is very similar to that? Like ways of like, oh yeah, we need to stop these people from raising their vibration, and how are they trying to do that?
Oh, you know, I do have a lot of information on that. I'm still digesting her visions and what she was seeing. I can't eloquently describe what she told me because I'm still thinking through it.
I
but
understand.
that is going on. And actually her name is Beverly. We've done, she's I have on my YouTube channel, there's a series called the designer of our reality simulations. And she's that person. And so she and I we're like talking yesterday, and she gets all this information coming in. She's like, I don't know what to do with it. And so we were hemming and hawing over, you know, how to get this information out. So we decided we're just going to start having some conversations, and we're going to put them out on YouTube on my channel. So her name is Beverly, and I'll let you know when we get those out, because so much information pours out of her that's why I can't wrap it up in a little. There's a lot behind everything that she says. So
wow.
So that,
no
you know, the bit about
right?
No coincidence. Yeah, right. No coincidence. That conversation was just yesterday. So yeah, there's a lot going on, and they're trying to get things really confusing and depressing
Mm,
and demoralizing and physically harming. So, we've got to be on our A game at this point.
wow, that's interesting. And so Beverly, you already posted one video, correct? So far?
No, we've done three
Three?
so far, and she was. I did a couple of episodes with Ruben Langdon, who has a show on Gaia called Conversations with Extra Dimensionals, and in one of those episodes, we brought Beverly in and did another session with her. So that one's not out
Ah,
yet. That'll come out on Ruben's show. Um, so yeah, she's pretty fascinating.
nice, nice. Got to pick her brain a little bit, huh?
Yeah, she's pretty amazing.
Gotcha. Is it like the information that's coming through, is it just so bizarre? It's hard to wrap your mind around it, or it's just
Um,
so
it's so big. It's
washy-washy kind of thing?
it's so big. It's so the perspective is so big, and it's gosh, the dark can be very creative with what they're doing, and
A lot of tricks up their sleeves.
yeah. But again, they like to put it all out there. So if your eyes are open to it, you can see
Mm,
exactly what's coming down the pike and why you're seeing what you're seeing currently.
interesting. Here's a question. It's always been on my mind, and maybe you can answer it as well. But why would they throw things out there for people to see it? Like throw their playbooks out there to see it. Is there a reason for that? Like, is it a rule or something?
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know for sure because I don't delve on that side too hard. But what I have heard is that there's this weird, they have to put it out. It's like a compulsion, or it's a rule, in order to, I don't know, to bring that power up. And I think,
Mm, that
if you
makes
think
sense.
about how subtly our society over decades, over generations, have been lulled into believing how free we are when we're not. And,
Ah,
it's just, if you look at the playbooks that they've had, the Rothschilds and oh gosh, it's one from like 1920. I can't think of the name of it, where they kind of just laid out, here's what's going to have to happen. And it does, if you know anything about, this that's going around, um, there's been patents out for years
mm.
for what's making people sick.
Oh, okay.
You
Gotcha.
just have to open up your mind and your eyes and weigh what you can find, and it's not going to be on the network news. You can kind of
Yeah.
take all of that, I think, and go opposite. Whatever they're saying, just go opposite, and you're pretty much closer to the truth.
Yeah, I've heard that once before. Since we're talking about all these weird things going on, these negative energies, these negative individuals, and so on, what are some of the things to do to protect yourself from all that? Is there any advice?
Well, people have different opinions about this. I mean, personally, I know I'm light, so I don't have fear. So to me personally, protection is a result of fear. Um, so my head doesn't wrap around that. Um, if I'm in a weird scenario, I just imagine wrapping a lot of light around me that is
Oh,
not
that's good advice. That's good.
yeah, but that's about, I don't do rituals. I don't have to have certain crystals on me at certain times. I mean, I know I'm light. So, and I know I'm protected, and I'm connected to source. And, um, some people feel more comfortable with the rituals and the devices. And things like that. I think you just have to do what feels best for you.
I want to circle back on one of the things you said. You mentioned the wave of light. Now, you kind of, I know each individual is going to have a different experience as well, but what are you getting on the wave of light? Is that part of
Yeah.
the Great Awakening, or is that something else?
Oh no, I think that all ties in. No, actually, I just did a session last week that I'm going to be putting out this weekend. That she spoke very, very eloquently about this wave of light that's coming. So let me put my head back in that session, see if I can remember what she said. She said so much in that session. She said, okay, so this is going to be a little bit of a session story. Is that okay?
Sure.
So in her past life, it was ancient Earth, and she was a giant. We end up finding out she was 25 to 30 feet tall, and she started to, she came to Earth, the giants. They came as a group from another planet to help build up all of our societies. And she lived a long time. She was a he in that life. And I think he was about 800 to 900 years old. And towards the end of his life, he was still in the same community that he started in, which for him, he was in the area of pyramids. So you can assume probably Egypt. And at the later part of that life, the society wasn't running as well with the pyramids as it originally was. Originally, it was all the pyramids lit up, and there's all sorts of energy flowing, just as you would imagine a perfect scenario for the pyramids. But the society had changed over those 800 years, and the pyramids weren't as strong. So he took on the role as the oracle. And so he worked with the leaders of the time, but also the people. And he would tell them, when things are coming, to prepare for this or do that. And so this is a long story. I'm getting to the point now.
Take your time.
One of the important days of that life, he was telling the people that the winds of change are coming, and this was going to be an actual sandstorm. And so everybody was able to prepare for it. They had enough time. They went inside of one pyramid, and that's where the people lived for a couple of months. It was a very long sandstorm. And he kept a bubble of calm over them so that they wouldn't freak out, in their confinement inside, while outside was changing and moving, shifting. And he says when the storms cleared and they walked out, it was so beautiful because it was like everything was wiped clean. Everything was new again. And so she says, as her high self, that's where we're at. We're in the midst of these winds of change, and this light that's coming is going to be like that light, that like the winds of change. It's going to clear everything out. And who knows, maybe, I always have hope, maybe the really bad dudes can get their stuff in a group and be good and,
right.
change. Right. So, I mean, all things are possible. So maybe the light has the power to do that. I would imagine it does.
Absolutely. Now, I forgot to ask you this question earlier. So you mentioned Beverly. You did some sessions with Beverly. The information that was coming through, was that from her higher self, or was that from any other groups? I like how you're laughing about it.
I know. She is just such a hoot. Yeah, that was a session where I felt like I was I could not think of good enough questions fast enough because the information was just coming so fast from her. So she's one, you probably have had this in your sessions where they speak robotic. The voice is very
not like yours, but
oh my gosh,
like sometimes they'll come in very firm. Like, I don't have time.
Yes,
they'll come in very firm, and then a little bit of a computer talk, and then that was it. But that was for me. It was just lasted a little bit.
Okay, so let me tell you just a little bit, because this is why this makes it so funny. That's why I'm giggling. That really is like little like me. She's like little 5'2", like me. We both are former hairdressers, so we have that, commonality.
Gotcha.
We're chatty. We like to talk to people, and that's probably why I love doing sessions. But so she's just a very down-to-earth person. And so in her very first session, she was a hoot. I love her. And she had this amazing past life, and it was, it was like watching a movie from the Middle Ages. I mean, she's so descriptive. I mean, it just felt like you were right there with her. So, I mean, we were in this great, motion picture experience. And then right away, as her high self comes in, the voice goes super robotic. And, that happens in sessions, and that can, if you ask why that's happening, a lot of times they'll say, well, that's just how the frequency of the information that's coming through can come through. It has to be in that pitch. But so throughout her session, she's giving this really deep, big information about where we're at on the planet and all that's going on. And I asked, I'm like, is this Beverly's high self? And she says, no, I am the designer. I am the designer of the reality simulations. Yes. And there's the designer, and then there's the engineers, and the engineers implement what the designer makes. And then the designer gets her information from source. So, it's kind of this, this lineup of beings. So yeah, I would never call it, I mean, I'm sure it's connected with her high self. It is her. But yeah, a very specific title and a very, very specific role that one as the designer has.
Nice. Glad I asked that question. I do remember that video. And like I said, I'll have a link to Suzanne's YouTube page, and you just go to her video and just scroll down, and I'll listen to all of them because I find all your videos are amazing. So
thank you. Thank you.
So check them out. You'll be pretty surprised, and then you get to experience with the robotic voice as well. And so it was funny and cool to listen to. So it just makes it more real too, in my opinion.
Well, yeah, I mean, you can't make that stuff up. I mean, when she laid down on the table, that her head was not wrapped up at all around any of that. So, our left brain still have to have some ways of accepting that we know everything within us. And, the things that happen in sessions, it's just outside of the capability of the left brain to make up. And I think that's part of the journey through the experience.
Nice. Before we go to the next section, and you mentioned Beverly with the designer and everything, has any ETs come through and mentioned anything about the new Earth, anything like that?
Oh yeah.
I know you do.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I think I've got a few on my YouTube channel, matter of fact, and they're usually the robotic voices too. Yeah, would I get information from them? Let me just try to remember here. It's more that we're being so supported, we're being so helped, and we have, because we're on Earth during this finishing up time of duality. We have that feeling of being alone personally, or as a society, or as a planet. And what those beings love to remind us is that we have got so much support around the planet. And Dolores would talk about this in her sessions, how they would tell her, the ships are all over. Like, this is the best show in the universe. Everybody, if you couldn't get the ticket in a physical body, you're watching from above, and or through dimensions. So yeah, I think we've got great support. And I think some of us are starting to actually, even visually with our physical eyes, start to see things that are happening around us that we wouldn't have been attuned to maybe even a few years ago.
For the next section, so this would deal with any tips or advice of, like, what can we do to help with the new Earth? Is there anything as light workers that we can do, or new individuals, new awakened individuals? That's probably I want to say the first time they ever saw anything like this, but maybe this is like their second video, maybe.
Yeah.
Is there anything that came through in your sessions where some great advice of how to raise your vibrations, what to do to help out with the new earth?
Yes. Most important thing, because everything falls from this, is let go of fear. Don't entertain fear. Just if you have to, observe it. But when you can look at things that are presented to you that you normally would get your stomach tied up into a knot over, or would make you change course from what you really wanted to do, that's the time to stop and just realize you are good, you are supported, you are protected, you are great, and you do you. And take a stand for what you feel is best for you to do. But if you let fear rule your life, you're never going to get done here what you came to do. And heck, we might as well get it done.
So any tips on what a light worker could do besides fear? Like, is there anything else?
Yes. I think this is the time, we hear so many times in session how important meditation is.
Gotcha. Yeah.
And our left analytical minds go, oh my gosh, I can't meditate. I'm always thinking of other things.
Yeah, yeah, I'm
Well,
listening too.
yeah. Well, I'm the world's crappiest meditator, and I've been able to do it. So it takes, it takes some, you have to try, right? You have to do it. Right, it would be like, what's Joe to say? There's no try, there's only do. But here's why in sessions, I'll ask this question every single time the high selves bring up that they need to meditate more. Why? And they say, because that's how we have clear connection to them. And if we are trusting that clear connection of that information that's coming in from that part of us that loves us unconditionally and knows everything, then we follow that lead. And that's the juncture that we're at right now. I mean, on top of this great awakening, part of that is that we are becoming essentially our high selves and awakened aware physical bodies. And that's why we're remembering, and that's why, we're not, drinking Kool-Aid like we used to drink, and we're questioning things. And that's why in QHHT sessions, one of the most important things that we're noticing is that clients are still feeling aware during sessions. It used to be they'd be in amnesia.
Yes, yes.
And wasn't that easy because, we weren't battling the left side of the mind. But that's not the case anymore. About 10 years ago, we all started witnessing in sessions that clients were saying that they were feeling more aware during the sessions. They were remembering more afterwards. They weren't having the amnesia experience. And this is part of our great development, our great evolution. The high selves say is that we are learning to recognize what it's like to be in that deep space where we have clear and easy connection to this part of us. It is us, the high self, that knows everything. And if you feel aware and you can quiet yourself down and ask, what do I need to do about this? And that knowing or that voice or pictures come in to help guide you, and you work with that instead of running your wheels in place and letting the fear and the analysis get the better of you, well, you're 100 paces ahead of those that are in fear. So that we're in a great mass awakening, and people that don't know it are in this great mass awakening. And I had a client just a couple weeks ago that he woke up 2 months ago. I mean, like slammed in, and
Like
it's been
fresh.
rabbit holing, and yes,
Fresh.
rabbit holing. And matter of fact, my wage is quite a while now, and his email came and he wanted a session, and I had kind of a light week coming up, and there's just something in me that just went, offer it to him, see if he wants to come in early. It's so fast. And I didn't know that he had had this fast awakening, and I'm like, well, would you like to come in, in a couple weeks? He's like, yes. I'm like, okay. And he gets there and he's like, this is all new to me. 3 months ago, I didn't know any of this stuff, and
Really?
and I'm like, oh, that's so funny, because I normally wouldn't have, I normally would have, yeah. So, but
Which is good, because whatever comes through, he's fresh to it. So it's like,
oh yeah, it was an awesome session.
you know what I mean? If he's new
Yeah.
to it, then a lot of stuff is not his perspective. It's like, oh wow, I never even knew nothing about that. So
Yeah. Oh yeah. There's so many good things that are happening. I had, okay, I'll tell you this one. This is fun.
I'm all
I got a
ears.
I've got to be careful here because this isn't really my session. I just got to be nosy and sit in on it. There's someone who does hypnosis. This was not QHHT. It was a different type, who had a client. This person lives on the other side of the world.
Mm.
Who had a client in a session that all of a sudden started talking with Tesla, Nikola Tesla.
Oh,
and they were
interesting.
able to ask questions of Tesla, and they got what do you call it, like a formula of how to reach him again. So pretty
Oh.
cool, kind of like Dolores and Nostradamus. So, he's telling me about this, and I'm like, are you gonna do another session with him? And he's like, oh yeah, maybe sometime. I'm like, are you kidding me? Like, set up the session. Can I sit in? I want to ask questions. And
Nice.
he's
I
just
love it.
he's so sweet. So we did that last night. So last night, my time, it was Monday morning, their time. And so we were able to ask Nikola Tesla what he thought about everything that's going on in the world. And it was fascinating. He says, and this is what we hear in sessions a lot, everything is happening the way it's supposed to happen. Stop getting so tied up into it emotionally. Let it flow and let it roll out, and you do you, and let everybody else do them, and we're going to get there.
Nice. Yeah, I mean, with that being said, I mean, the opportunity to ask him some questions and his feedback on it, that's just amazing.
That's
And I'm glad she was open to like doing another session,
Oh yeah, there's going to be more coming up. I think
yeah.
I arm twisted them into doing at least once a month.
Nice.
So we'll
now, would that session be on your channel by any chance, or would that be on someone else's channel?
I don't know. This is all, I mean, literally we just did this last night. So they do want to share it. They've given permission to share. But I think we're going to, we got to think on this. I'm still listening to it for the first time after the session. Because the information is, at least for my little brain, I was asking him, about 369 and how he died, We got like the blow by blow of how that went down. And we found out about some information that he's hidden. And so we gotta think on how to put this out, but it will come out. He gave the blessing. He said that would be a good thing. He says he's trying to reach a lot of people, and so that was a fun night.
Perfect.
Hanging out with the old Nikola Tesla.
With that being said, if you want anything shared on the podcast only, I can share it to the podcast only. I know you have a YouTube channel, and the other individual, she has one, and so be it. But if you ever want anything shared to the podcast, and if Nikola Tesla approves, then yeah, let's do it. I look forward to it.
Yeah, absolutely. It was fun.
That's awesome. That is awesome. I mean, what do you do? I mean, to ask, what would you ask?
Yeah, it's pretty cool. We actually, something different happened this time. There was, as he was following the directions to get back there to Nikola, there was a gatekeeper that we had to pass through, and had to, the gatekeeper said that the intentions, of course, had to be right, or else we couldn't get through to get to Tesla. So that was
like the right energies, the right time and everything.
Yeah.
Wow. Now the secret stuff, is that going to be revealed in the future with the stuff that he left secret?
I asked a few different ways on that, and there was, there's technology that he talked about that I've got to go look up. I didn't know, and the client didn't really understand it either. So we all have got to kind of put our heads to the books and understand what it was that he gave us. And I asked if it was going to be found, and he gave us some information about it. But I think that more will come out. I think we're getting drops, and
nice.
Hopefully a floodgate.
I wonder if any of the rumors are true that he's connected to certain politicians by any chance.
Yeah, I almost went there with him. I asked a
Awesome.
question that could have led to that. I was like, really take the bait on that one. And the bait wasn't taken totally on that. Wasn't shut down either.
Now here's an interesting question. This would probably be one that I would ask him, like, with all his inventions and everything, he really didn't get credit in the beginning for a lot of his stuff. And, you know, a lot of stuff was stolen from him, and a lot of stuff he wasn't given credit on until like recently. Someone had, like, multiple times, different individuals had to say a lot of stuff about him for him to get the credit that he deserves. Was that ever brought up? Like, how did he felt about all that, you know?
Yeah, I actually asked an Edison question to get, what was going on between the two of them. And it was, it was actually, it wasn't a like, he's a rotten dude and he stole my work and things
Everything
like that.
happens for a reason. So I know
everything happens for,
yeah.
it was an unexpected explanation. I'll tell you that. I won't share it yet. But it was, kind of a high level view of it. And, oh my gosh, there's so much I could say, but it's not my session, so I don't feel like I can really say too much on it until they put it out. But yeah, it's a lot to
Perfect.
take in.
Patience is a virtue, that's for sure. Was anything mentioned about anti-gravity by any chance? Because I think that was one of the things he was working on.
The words anti-gravity weren't used, although that would be a good question for the next time. But he did talk about perpetual, it has something to do with the 369. The ether, perpetual energy, all of this is kind of in one big answer. And we talked a lot about 369 and what it meant.
Because they're powerful numbers, the 3s and the 6. Did that have something to do?
It was a way for the humans to wrap their heads around a concept. Math was the way for them to wrap their heads around this very galactic concept.
Gotcha.
Really, I mean, I'm trying to understand it too, Jason.
No.
That's when you're like, it's like in Beverly's session at the end. I think of the first one, the designer asked, if I had any more questions, and I'm like, I'm toast. I ain't got nothing. I just can't think. Yeah, it was a lot of information. But in this scenario, it was a lot of fun because we had the original practitioner asking questions as well, and I was just butting in because that's what I do. But yeah, so I don't know. We might have another guest sit in with us who's kind of fun and well known that might ask some questions. So we'll see where it goes.
Well, if you ever need a hand, you just let me know.
Okay.
Either that, or I know someone that will love to sit in on that one. Maybe, I know we're all fractions of individuals and everything, and fractions, of a soul. Or the next question would be, is he reincarnated now? Like, is he living a life on Earth right now?
That's a good question. We didn't go there, but we talked a lot about what he's doing, where he's at. And as we know, we can be in many different places at once because time isn't really a thing, right? But he was sharing a lot about what his role is now. Oh my gosh, that was really good too. Some stuff about Orion and the pyramids, and oh my gosh, there's just a lot.
Perfect. Exciting stuff. Well, we'll change the subject a little bit because it seems like it's getting too juicy and we don't want to spoil the fun. So the next topic will be, so with the new Earth and everything, are you still getting anything about our DNA changing? Is our DNA still changing, or any information about that?
I think it is. And I think that's also why we're getting injections, because it's changing our DNA. So, but energy is stronger than
You
that.
say that, I
So,
mentioned that to Sarah about that. So,
mhm,
because it
mhm,
can be used for coding,
mhm,
and like you can use a certain the V word as coding, and she's like, oh, at least that's what I've heard once before.
right. Yeah. So yes, I do get in sessions that our DNA is upgrading and changing, and um, I think we can all see that because if if you're old enough, you can look back in time, to when you were younger and how you viewed the world and viewed, how information was given to you and how you look at it now, and it's changed. You're not the same receiver that you were before, and this great awakening is stimulating the DNA. um, what they are telling me in sessions is that we're actually merging the left and the right hemispheres. We're uh, losing that division they say was there
Mhm.
to experience duality and separation. I mean, very literal. And they say energetically and even physically that's coming together because we're coming back into unity consciousness. So DNA has to play a role in that, of course. And, what we know about it and what it is are two different things. And what we know about it is what we're told in
Mhm.
most cases, unless you're in a QHHT session and you get the real 411, about all of that. I
Right,
think there's
right.
a lot of practitioners when they hear like some great breakthrough, we're all going, yeah, we knew that. We've been hearing that for years. Um,
Nice. Now you mentioned, the DNA that they're trying to stop changing of the DNA. Did you have any information on why they're trying to stop that?
well, because we're more controllable.
Mm, make note of that. Gotcha. Which kind of makes sense, and I'll go off of another YouTuber's video where they were talking about how his brother changed and everything. He's more dull, more relaxed and everything, and just not like his active go get itself. So with that being said, I can see that going hand in hand.
It's again, we created this, right? I mean, we're all creators of our reality. So, I mean, we don't get to say it's all bad
We love a good
guys.
fight.
Yeah. Apparently, we like the tough lessons. That's what this earth gig's about. But yeah, it is. It's going to be. I think um, it's going to be sad watching down the road what's occurring. And with that, I will say this in the session that I'll be releasing this weekend, the giant gal.
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
I do have
oh
one more
my,
question about that.
okay. This is important in regards to the injections. Is that this gal, because of other health issues through her life, has had to have uh, intravenous injections every 9 weeks, infusions. And the question was, most bodies can only handle a few of these infusions. It's too much for the body. But
Okay.
she's been able to have them every 9 weeks for years. But when we were talking before I put her under, she says, what I do is I envision golden light going into the infusion bag. And it's golden light that's coming into me, not the harmful medicine.
Mm.
So that when we're talking, I'm like, well, that's interesting. Wow, that's pretty smart. And when we get into that part of the session, that you can hear her high self is saying, we gave her that thought of the golden light because she was in a really bad place physically at the time. The medicine was going to be okay. They were going to allow for that because she had to physically get herself turned around and out of the hospital. And but they said we gave her the thought of infusing golden light through it, which completely changed the medicine. This is what her high self says. And so I brought up, well, where we're at right now is there's a lot of this jabbing going on, and what can people do if they have to or they're forced to,
Right.
or they've done it and they're regretful of it. And she says it's the exact same thing. You envision what has gone into your body as being pure light. And she says the important part of this is you have to really positively believe that and have no or very little doubt. She says if you go back to thinking doubtfully that, oh, that certainly can't work, it will reverse the effect. So as this gal has done so successfully with this very hardcore medicine, we can all do if we need to take those or any medicine. She said you can do this with any medicine.
Right, right, absolutely. It's like
right.
the
She
sugar
says
pill.
our mind is way more powerful than the physical.
Yeah. Kind of reminds you of the sugar pill scenario where they'll take these sugar pills and they're like, oh, I feel better because your mind is more powerful than
Yeah.
what you think.
Yeah.
So that's great information. That is a great tip and great information. This whole thing that's going around right now with the V, is there anything else to be expected down the road in the future to be expected? Has anything came through? Or like what they're trying to do now to stop certain things?
You know, the overall picture I get is that it's going to look worse before it looks better. And I think if we can just prepare for that mentally, and again, don't sit on your laurels, you know, do everything you need to, meditate, help others, do your purpose, put your beliefs into action. If we can do that, then it's so much better. If we just go, oh my gosh, they're going to do this. And oh my gosh, I'm going to have to do what they say. And, you know, that's it for me, you know, then you're giving them the power. So you better get pretty square with yourself right now. And you know, that's about as tough talking as I get. But I mean, we've seen what's happening. We can clearly see what's coming if we're going to allow this. So it's time to stand up now and do what each of us is called to do, and not everybody's called to do the same thing. You know, figure out what feels best to you and do that.
Perfect, perfect. I love it. Thank you very much. And more things are coming and things are going to get worse. Do you have any information about what we can do to prepare for what's being worse? Do we have to stock up on food? That was one of the questions that was received in one of my sessions. And I will give you what I've received and if any information that you received as well.
Yep. So is there more that?
Yeah, the question would be: is there anything that we could do to prepare, like stock up on food, anything like that? Money, you know, she mentioned bullets, but I was like, well, if you need them,
that's your reality, you know. I guess if that's your reality, you know, I don't know. You know, I can only speak for myself, and you know, I did that silly toilet paper stocking up on stuff, you know, back in March, like, you know, like this is so weird. Oh, you know, I got more Tylenol.
It was perfect timing for me. I just said, I'm going to get the big pack this go around.
Yeah.
Just happened to bought the big pack, and I was like, oh, what perfect timing that was.
We're such dopes, you know. They had to be sitting back going, ha ha ha, look at the, you know, they're buying toilet paper like crazy, you know. Oh my gosh, it was such a good exercise, I guess, to teach us a lot. So, you know, I just don't go there. I mean, I don't stock up on things, you know. I've got a husband that was a Boy Scout and he can do a lot of things.
There you go.
You know, that's my preparedness, I guess. You know, my head just won't go there. If it has to at some point, then maybe I will. But, you know, I think our preparation and our ability to help ourselves through this next period that's coming is here and in here. And if you've got to get that ready to go.
Gotcha. Perfect. That's perfect information. Yeah, because for the session I had, the client wanted to know very similar stuff, and it was kind of like, if that's the reality you want, that's the reality you're going to create. But it doesn't hurt to be prepared, and it doesn't hurt, to because we live in the South, you have to be prepared for certain things anyway.
Hurricanes, right? Yeah.
Hurricanes, you
Yeah.
know, power outages and so on. So it doesn't hurt to prepare, but kind of like what Drew was saying is like relax more, go with it kind of thing.
Yeah. And I honestly, again, that message that comes so many times is everything is happening the way it's supposed to happen. So, it just is. And that doesn't mean that we can't change things. Everything is malleable. Um, but that's where, you change things by going into fear, or you change things by going into light, and it's your choice what you decide to do. But I think you're going to have a much more beneficial experience if you stay away from fear.
Last thing will be, now this will section of the video will be if someone's brand new, like your client just woken up, and they, like for me, I remember telling Karen, my wife, that I felt like before I even knew about QHHT, before I even knew about Dolores Cannon, I remember one day telling her, like, I feel like something's coming. I don't know what it is, but I feel like something's out there and something's coming. And she's like, what it is? What could it be? And I'm like, I have no idea. I don't even know where to begin to explain it. I just feel something.
Mm-hmm.
So that happened years before even reading the first book of Dolores Cannon. So I'm reading, and I started reading Dolores Cannon's book because I wanted to get more information about Atlantis, because I'm creating a sci-fi action story that deals with Atlantis, and I wanted to get a whole totally different perspective than what anybody was talking about. So I'm reading Dolores Cannon's book, go straight to Atlantis, get all that juicy information. And I was like, well, let me read the rest of the book. And so I think I was on Convoluted Universe Part 3. And then it started talking about the new Earth. And I'm like, wait a minute, what's this all about? What's this new Earth thing all about? And then I started reading about it. I was like, ah. So with all that being said, it's kind of like once when I knew something was going on, like some changes were happening and the reasons for
Mm-hmm.
these changes, I felt like a sense of relief afterwards. Like I don't have that feeling anymore. So for this part, the question is, if when someone's brand new and they're learning all this new information about the new Earth changes, if you can explain to us why the new Earth is changing, why is the current Earth changing to the new Earth?
Well, from what I understand, it's because the Earth itself, a being, which is sometimes hard for people to wrap their head around, but it's its own creation, and it's evolving, and we just happen to be riding on top of it. So, we're going with it, and it's part of evolution. And one thing that was said in that Nikola Tesla session.
Oh, another connection.
A little bit, yeah. Let me just think on how to phrase this one. Is that there's always shifts from dark to light that the universe experiences, different planets experience, inhabitants experience, and we're coming out of the dark and we're going into light again. So in a way, it can't do anything but happen. So I think it's. I think it's like this, if you're brand new to it, if you can take an observer role to, let's take just a minute topic like education, how education has changed through the last 16 months, right? Things shut down, there are lots of rules, lots of crazy scenarios. But that really got a lot of creative people thinking about new ways for education. Wouldn't it be nice if little people could focus on the things that they feel drawn to, and they don't have to study the things that don't really apply to their interests? If we could let people learn what's important for them to learn instead of shoving things down them that they'll never use again, wouldn't we have a different type of system? And so, this new earth, I think, is more about supporting people wholly instead of making them go through regimented programs. And our education's evolution that we're witnessing right now, I think, is a part of that. So that's a real practical application example. But I think it's also, people are just questioning things. And that's how you wake up. You start questioning.
You mentioned earlier that the giants, as an example, with the pyramids. I forgot to ask you, which pyramids was that? Was that the pyramids in Egypt, or were these different pyramids?
I don't think I even asked. It sounded like Egypt. They spoke about two pyramids, and the time sounded way before Egypt. Our Giza. So I would say it very well could have been, but I think it was before that time period.
Gotcha. All right. Yeah, because evidently there was a lot of pyramids on the earth, and so it's very interesting. That was new news to me as well.
Right.
What else do we got here? Is there anything else that that should talk about or bring forward that would help out any individuals that will come across this, like this new topic for them? Is there anything else that you can think of?
I just tell people, if there's a topic that interests you, there's a reason for that, and to follow it and see what else that opens up for you. Not everybody's at the QHHT, and they shouldn't be. You need to follow what is most appealing to you, because it's happening that way for a reason.
Perfect. Now here's my favorite question, and I wanted to get your thoughts on it. This deals with Atlantis. So is any of this connected to the times of Atlantis, of what's going on now? And if it is, can you share some of that information with us?
Oh, I think it's just a continuation of knowledge. That Atlantis was one of probably the last times that we really changed and shifted things. And my pet's coming up here.
The dog wants to be part of it.
Yeah, she wants to go outside, I think.
We'll wrap it up pretty soon. We're almost done. Hold on, doggy.
But she's sweet. Her name's Pippa. But yeah, I think, we've had these periods of time throughout forever where we've had great amounts of knowledge, and then we've lost it, and then we've rebuilt it again, and we've lost it again. And so I think, especially these all of us on the planet right now that are such, we're here to do stuff. We're here for a reason, have been in those previous times, if it was Atlantis or before that, or Egypt, or we're bringing in all of our soul's experience to help with this great shift, which, they say often in sessions, it's so interesting to the universe what's happening here, because, I've had both that has never happened before, and it's only happened one other time before, the planet raised frequency in a different way. It didn't have the inhabitants on it. There's a lot going on here, and we get so tunnel visioned into the headlines and, what our relatives are telling us we should be doing, and, what's wrong with us. And, it's so easy to get so minute in our view. But it's a cycle, and we're in this very interesting time of the cycle where we're doing something very unique, and we're raising the vibration, the frequency of the planet and its inhabitants. So, I just say, wake up, and and start doing your parts.
Perfect. I love it. For Atlantis as well, has any information came through where you noticed some similarities between the nowadays and the times of Atlantis?
Yeah, a lot of it, of the falling of Atlantis and where we're going with AI. And
that's interesting.
Yeah. We're kind of at segues at same segues at different time periods.
You mentioned AI. Is AI more of the bad thing?
You
Or
know, I think it could be both. It could be very, very
okay.
good. It can be very, very bad. It depends on whose hands it's in and what their intentions are.
Gotcha.
So,
Gotcha. Perfect. Well, is there anything else you would like to share before we wrap this up? You did a wonderful job.
oh
Tons of great
gosh.
information. I'm pretty sure a lot of people are going to love this information because I think it answers a lot of questions on both sides of the community.
Well, I hope so. I mean, I'm hoping to just help people open their minds up and get ready for what's coming and be using their light in their highest and best ways. So that's it. You can find me at my QHHT website is Suzanne Spooner, QHHT.com. If you just search on YouTube for Suzanne Spooner and QHHT, you'll find my channel. Lots of good clips there. I put those out because I think there's information that each client has that's relatable to other people, and not everybody will have a session, but they may be able to understand their situation or heal themselves through what happens through the clients. And we actually got some really good information on this one that I'm releasing this weekend about how just listening to the sessions actually changes and affects the listener. And a really beautiful message for those who are listening. That was a kind of a surprise at the end. So yeah, those are probably the best ways to find me.
Perfect, perfect. And I'll have a link in the description for her website, her YouTube channel, and anything else you would like to share. Like I said, check them out. You won't be disappointed. All her videos are amazing. So especially the one with the robotic voice and Ron Head. Y'all still communicate with each other, correct?
Oh yeah, yeah. We did a session not terribly long ago. Yeah, he used to live in Des Moines, and so we were doing sessions. My schedule is a little bit more open than it is now, and so we were doing sessions almost weekly for a while and putting those out. And now he's back down in Florida, so and my schedule's a little bit crazier, so we haven't been able to do it quite as frequent. But we usually do at least one a year, maybe two a year now.
Perfect, perfect. Final and last question. If any more information comes through, would you like to come back on to release that information to us, to the community?
Be happy to.
Perfect. Well, make sure you subscribe so you can get that information as well. And like I said, it's going to be a playlist, and it's going to be called New Earth versus New World Order. And that will have all the videos that deals with this subject right here in this series. Well, with that being said, I would like to call it a night, and I have two more questions for you afterwards, and that will be off camera or off recordings. But thank you very much. Thank you for everything. Thank you for the information. And when you was willing to book this sessions, I was very excited. I was like, yes.
Oh, good.
Yes. Because I
Well,
knew
thank you
you
for
had
asking
great
me.
information about it. So perfect.
I'm happy to share.
All right, cool. Well, I want everybody that's watching this video or listening to this podcast, I want you to have a wonderful night and take care. Hopefully you took some good notes from Suzanne. Take care. So you're the first one that I'm doing an interview with. So, and it worked out perfect because I had a client and she had similar questions. And I'm like, ooh, that's interesting.
I wonder if that's a coincidence, Jason. Jeez.
I started laughing and I started smiling when I saw that. I'm like, so she's going over her questions and I'm like, wow, your questions are lining up to some questions that I have in mind with the YouTube video series that I'm going to do on my playlist. And she goes, oh, really? I said, yeah, I find that very coincidental. So what a coincidence, right?
Right.
So